start sharing my desktop. Just give me 1 second, please. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present and share in the inaugural Timor-Leste NOG. Unfortunately, due to health reason, I couldn't come. I would love to, maybe next time. And one of the only place which is not far away from where I live in Sydney, Australia. So I would really like to come and attend the next event when it happens in person. But till that next time, thank you so much for the opportunity to do the presentation online. So my name is Aftab Siddiqui. I work for Internet Society, mostly looking into the data sets, how things are moving on the internet. So I will be sharing some viewpoint from the platform we run called Pulse. So you can go to pulse.internetsociety.org and see some of these things which I will be presenting in a moment. So Pulse is a journal platform for measurement. It is a collection of a data set. We collect data set from different places. It's hard to name all of them, and we are constantly adding more data set whenever it is possible. What we do is we collect data set and make it more presentable so people can understand what is happening on the internet. So we measure four important things: shutdowns, technologies, concentration, and resilience. For this presentation, I'll be talking mostly about technology and resilience. So, and of course, the country report and the IXP report, I will highlight a little bit on that. So for the technologies, we measure, of course, some of the important ones, that what is the uptake of HTTPS, IPv6 and TLS 1.3. We measure all TLS version 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, but of course, the important one is 1.3. If you look at globally, almost 96% of traffic is accessed through HTTPS. The IPv6 global adoption rate is almost touching 50%. And the TLS 1.3 uptake is almost close to 81%. HTTPS and TLS is easy because it is managed by most of the big operators, so we don't have to do much about that. Of course, if today you are setting up a website and not having a valid certificate, is going to be a challenge with your browser because it will tell you that it is not secure. So that's easy, but of course, IPv6 adoption is the difficult part, and we will discuss about that. So look at Timor-Leste, how Timor-Leste is doing in terms of technologies, which is not very good, I would say. In the HTTPS side, it's only 6% we can measure. IPv6 is very low. I'm glad that I was able to see what Aval was presenting, so I'm not going to go into the details of that. He has presented in detail about the IPv6 and DNSSEC. And actually, we get the measurement from APNIC anyway, so he is better suited to explain what is working and what is not in IPv6 and DNSSEC. In terms of the region, of course, the bigger countries are doing really good in whether it is Malaysia or Thailand and Vietnam as well. But of course, if you look at the neighboring countries, Indonesia is not doing very well. But of course, in the V6 adoption, Timor-Leste is right at the bottom. There's a lot of space for improvement, I would say. Now, the resilience. Resilience is it's an interesting topic. We measure multiple things. Number one is infrastructure. How much infrastructure is there in the country? How that infrastructure is performing, how much secure it is, and how market is open or ready for the new business. So there are some, of course, technical aspects. There are some business aspects in this. We will focus only on the technical aspects. For a whole methodology document, the link is at the bottom if you want to read that how we are measuring things. For a perspective, if you look at Europe, Asia, Americas, Oceania, and Africa, of course, Europe is doing much better as compared to Asia. And within Asia, we can have a look at the sub-regions, whether it is Eastern Asia, Southeast Asia, West Asia. Southeast Asia, which is where the Timor-Leste falls in, is doing good, I would say, as compared to Eastern Asia and other regions. But of course, if you go and open up other countries, of course, the numbers are very predominantly towards Singapore, Vietnam, Brunei, and Malaysia. So, of course, Timor-Leste, Laos and Cambodia, Myanmar and Philippines are doing not so good. But then again, there's a big improvement which Timor-Leste has to do to catch up with other countries in the region. So how do we measure all these things? It's interesting. I mean, you can have a look at the methodology document, as I mentioned, but I'll highlight a few points. For example, in the infrastructure, we do look at the cable system, how many cable systems are there in the country, how enabling the infrastructure is, how the fixed networks is performing, which is the broadband, how the mobile download speeds are there. So things like that. It's a long list of things which we measure. And on the basis of that, we calculate these numbers. So, another important thing is it's what we call it the enabling features. For example, we have a vision, Inter-Society has a vision that we would like to see every country in the region or globally to have at least 50% of their traffic served locally. For example, if you are in Timor-Leste, we would like to see that 50% of Timor-Leste's traffic is coming from within the country. So that is the 50-50 vision for Internet Society. Of course, I mean, we can't achieve it ourselves. We are trying our level best to help people who are doing this in their own country to make sure that they can achieve this number. And it's not very hard in terms of keeping the local traffic local. If you have an internet exchange point, it's much easier. So the traffic never has to leave the country. And if you have a good pairing with your neighboring countries, then it's, of course, it is leaving the country, but it's still in the region, so the lower latency and that. In terms of Timor-Leste, that's a challenge, and we will discuss about the challenges. And I was looking at the presentation by Awal again that he did highlight some of the challenges. So let's talk about those. So Timor-Leste is only 4% traffic is coming from locally. So if we get into more details that who is servicing those content. So what we do is we look up top 1,000 websites for the country. Top 1,000 websites are calculated by Google Cloudflare and Google Crux. There are two services which provide what are the top websites for the country based on the number of hits they receive. So we combine them together and then have a look at where these websites are coming in from. Most of the website, I mean, as we all know, is coming from Cloudflare, but not, of course, not from within the country. It's coming from the neighboring country. It is the region. But unfortunately, we do see higher latency even it is coming in from the region. Of course, then the next one is Amazon and Fastly, and they are all coming from neighboring countries, nothing locally. There is around 4% local traffic, which is a positive sign. It means there is some facilities available in the country where you can which you can leverage to provide more content locally. And the challenges, I mean, that's what Awal was talking about, right? I couldn't hear him, but I could see all the pictures he had. The challenges are, of course, connectivity. In the diagram on top, it is taken from the ITU broadband maps. It shows the terrestrial connectivity. Of course, it is Timor-Leste is heavily relying on connectivity with its neighbor, mostly Indonesia. That how it is connected. So that is, of course, a challenge. In the diagram, in the picture below, it's from the telegeography submarine cable map. It shows that there are some cables in the pipeline. Once they are ready, hopefully this will improve the connectivity in the country and help bridge that local content locality problem. So in the absence of that, yes, there is a problem. Now going to the country report, you can go to the pulse.internetsociety.org and then select the country report and select the country which you would like to see. And then also you can compare with your neighboring countries that how your country is performing. In the open internet environment, it's challenging. It's the how many users are there in the country. Of course, there is a as per the UN, the GSMA estimates it's 39% of the global population, the country population is using internet, which is, of course, the average in Asia is pretty high, mostly because of the mobile penetration. Internet resiliency score, of course, drops because of that, because not many people are using it, and there are other reasons. For example, diversity in connectivity, how people are connected. There's no local peering. Content localization is a problem. And of course, if you increase the user base, that might help as well. Then the global connected infrastructure. There are a very small number of networks in the country. And of course, because Timor-Leste started the internet journey quite late, so of course they do have the disadvantage of not getting a lot of IP addresses space, which is only very small number, not even in hundreds of thousands. It's very small number in terms of IPv4 address space, but that can be easily fixed with IPv6. APNIC has been doing a lot of good work in terms of highlighting the importance and how you can do the adoption and adopt IPv6. So that might help. As you can see in the IPv6 adoption graph, there's a lot of improvement. There's a lot of room for improvement. So that is easy. So yes, if you are late in joining the IPv4, then you can still get IPv6. Awal was showing the same picture. We take it from Rex, which is a resource explorer from APNIC. The interconnection is very, very poor in terms of the connectivity. That can improve quite drastically if you have a very active internet exchange point in the country. So that is a possibility. And the last thing we measure is the secure and trustworthy internet. Of course, there is .tl available, but the adoption rate is very low. Of course, which goes along with the number of internet user in the country as well. Routing security adoption and routing security coverage on IPv4 and IPv6. Awal was covering that anyway, so I'm not going to go into the details. But I would say it is not very bad. But if you look at the other neighbors in the region, you can do a lot better than that. So in terms of the measurement, there's always room to improve. We would like to have your support to increase our measurement. For example, there are not many Atlas probes. An Atlas probe is a project of RIPE NCC, just like APNIC in our region, Asia Pacific region. There is another RIR called RIPE NCC, which supports the European region and Middle East. They have a project, it's a global project called Atlas. and they put probes all across the world. There is a lot of space in Timor-Leste to have Atlas probe in the country. So if you are interested in putting probes in the country, please reach out to either Aval or myself. He's there, so it's much easier. So please talk to him. We can help you with putting some probes in the country so that we have better understanding of how the infrastructure is working. You can install UNI. UNI is an open source measurement platform. You can use that and help us understand how this is working. If you have any question about any data set we have on the website, please reach out to us through pulse@isoc.org, and I'll be more than happy to address any concern you have. So as I said, it is more about how we can improve the infrastructure and the security and the resiliency of the country, rather than saying, well, you are not doing good or you are doing bad. We need the numbers are only important when we can understand the background story. Sitting all the way here in Sydney, I do not know the background story, why there are too small number of network operators in the country, why they are not connected to each other. That's the story you can tell us. So if you are interested in sharing any of the stories, please reach out to us so we can understand better how the infrastructure is working or the security is in the country. So that is a small presentation I had. Please reach out to me. I would really like to understand more details about the country. And it is just amazing to see the first or inaugural network operators group meetup in Timor-Leste. I'm really happy to be part of this. So if you have any question, please feel free, and I'm happy to answer any of them.